This week at Lebanon Road, we're talking about being dull. I know a lot about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. We can do dull.
That's right. So we can just call the video off and we're done
Just
now.
we just sit and stare at the camera and say nothing.
I had an article, JD, that came across my desk 2 or 3 days ago that I thought was really good. And every once in a while in these videos, we just give credit where credit is due and kind of steal somebody else's material. And that's kind of what preaching is anyward. You take a lot of somebody else's good material and put it together. But one of my friends, Neil Pollard, who preaches in Denver, Colorado, wrote an article called "Are You Stuck in the Doldrums?" When I mentioned this to you, you said you'd never heard the word doldrums before.
Yeah, doldrums. That's not one we use all the time, is it?
No, but he gave sort of where it came from. And I just want to read sort of his first paragraph. He said, according to NASA's Earth Observatory, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, which is a phrase I use all the time,
Totally.
or ITCZ, I can remember that, is the region that circles the Earth near the equator where the trade winds of the northern and southern hemispheres come together. The ITCZ, or itch, like, see how they're all playful? Yeah.
I'm gonna have you go home and write down the letters, and you can see how that plays out.
The itch is a major weather player affecting rainfall, storms, and wind currents across the world along the equator, but also extending north and south as the position of the Earth to the Sun changes seasonally. Another feature of the ITCZ is the dead calm it can cause at sea, a weather event sailors long ago named the doldrums. A sailing ship that gets caught in the area of the world can be stuck there for days due to windless conditions, and it's said to be from an old English word that gives us the modern word for dull.
Okay.
So here you've got this weather system that sometimes basically just comes to a complete halt, and you've got sailors out on the sea or people on islands or something where the weather's not moving at all, and we've been having some very weird weather lately.
Yes.
So when I read this article, I thought we can kind of tie it together. We haven't been having dull weather. We've been having weird weather.
Yeah, colder here than Sochi, Russia.
Yeah.
That's
where
weird.
Where the Winter Olympics are going on should not be hotter than Nashville,
That's
Tennessee.
right.
They didn't ask me where to put the Olympics, but that should be like qualification number one.
Yeah.
Is it hotter than Nashville? But a lot of people, even when the weather is weird or like it's been here, it's been just terribly cold. We've had days in Nashville where it's been 3 and 4 and 5 degrees and wind chills below zero and stuff. They get dull. They get the doldrums. They get bored.
Yep.
And so for a couple minutes here, I want to just talk about some ways to sort of work through the doldrums, to work through those times when life seems to sort of come to a standstill, or maybe we can't get out of our house as much, or we can't move around as much. And there is a spiritual side to that because it does affect our mind, it affects our spirit when we just are sort of sitting for a while.
Yeah, I guess to equate it more to us, we call those like rainy days.
Yeah.
We even sing children's songs about the rain go away, coming in another day, because people want to go out and be active. And spiritually speaking, we can get that way too. And just trying to think of what I've done in the past when I've had the spiritual doldrums, maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe instead of it just being a boring or still time where the winds aren't churning or whatever, maybe it's an opportunity to pick up a new reading habit or a new time of the day when you pray, or a different way than you pray. We can all sometimes fall into saying the same things in the same order. Maybe it's making phone calls or writing or something. Just a subtle change can pull you out of that doldrum, get that momentum going, get the current stirring. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I like how you put that too about even trying something new. Maybe if you're like me, I'm terrible at writing cards. I just barely don't do
Well,
it.
I don't know if you can read them.
Well, that's true. Or typing, typing out cards or something. I scarcely send any because I'm terrible at it. But maybe if it's one of those times where spiritually things really are almost shut down. Maybe you say, you know what, let me try that. And you may only send one or two, but it may awaken something else within you that you have done in the past that you kind of get excited about doing again. You mentioned making phone calls. So, for some folks who can't get out of their house as much, there's plenty that can be done. Especially in our day and time, right from the house. If you can't get out, you still can do things to encourage other folks. And I think that's the key too. Is you mentioned praying and Bible study, connecting with God, but also knowing you're encouraging somebody else. That usually kind of snaps me out faster than anything else. There are times when I'll have to spend a lot of time in the office getting lessons together or classes together, and I do kind of get not down from the study, but just kind of in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was, you know what, I'm going to get out of here and go visit somebody, or I'm going to pick up the phone and just call somebody. It just kind of zaps you with energy because you're affecting somebody else. You're encouraging somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. When you're feeling down and depressed and you're feeling bored or in the doldrums, all of those are kind of introspective. You know, you're considering yourself. But when you go out and do for others, you are taking that consideration off of yourself, or that attention, if you will, and you're putting it on other people. And I think that is something that can be very helpful when you feel that way. When you take the attention off the way you're feeling at that time and you start thinking about how others feel, it can help pull you out of a rut if you're in one.
Yeah, Paul wrote in Galatians 5 that out of love we are to serve one another. Yeah, that's a great way to pick yourself up too, even though the emphasis is on somebody else.
Yeah.
As you said, you stop thinking about everything stinks. You know, everything's awful. I can't do anything. You can do something. And Neil in his article mentions one too that I'm just going to bring up here that I've found to be helpful, and it's simple. We talk about it all the time. Smile. When things are down, there is something literally, physical. What's physiological, is that the big fancy word? So. That if you smile, it does begin to change the body's chemistry. I don't know how that works, but I guess God wired us that way, where when things aren't going well, even if you have to, I've even read before, if you have to force the smile, it somehow changes the body's chemicals, and you begin to feel differently. And when it's really cold and you're kind of walking around all,
right.
Shivering all the time, it's sometimes hard to do, but even forcing a smile can help begin to lift the spirit.
Have a smile. Maria always says, "Fake it till you make it."
I like
That's
that.
something that they learned a little bit in her psychology and counseling classes. That sometimes you force yourself to feel a way, or you smile, and then eventually that becomes the way you feel. And so that doesn't apply to every situation, but that's something very helpful.
Yeah.
Put a smile on your face.
That's right.
Make the world a better place.
And one more, just generally, I'll mention here, and we've kind of hinted at it here and there, is get out when you can. The more you just stay holed up and just saying I can't do anything, even if it's walking out on the front porch, just getting some air. Obviously, coming to worship, we're not talking about that. We're talking about just during the week, those days that just seem to run on and on and on. Even if it's just stepping out on the front porch and breathing some air that's outside the house makes a difference. And there's something to be said for, I've heard it said before, breathing God's air. Just stepping out and kind of breathing, even if it's cold, even if it's just a couple of breaths because it's 5 degrees outside.
It freezes your lungs from the inside.
It'll wake you up. But there's something to be said just for stepping out and getting that air in your lungs and kind of breathing again and realizing, I can get out and do something.
Yeah, I think that's so helpful. I can think of times where I've had to sit in and not be able to go, just to be able to go out somewhere, or go get lunch at a different place, or just to walk outside. It's so liberating and can really help improve a mood.
So if you're stuck in the doldrums, if the winter's kind of got you down, the blues have kind of got you down, we wanted to just share with you today some things that we all know. We probably said anything new to anybody, but when you're down, it's hard to think of these things, because you are kind of focused on self and focused on the problems and focused on the difficulties. And instead, take some time to pray. As you mentioned, pray in a different way or a different time, or read your Bible in a different way. Serve somebody else, even if it's just from your house, calling someone, emailing someone, sending a card. Smile, even if it's at yourself in the mirror. Smile. Step outside for a moment. Let's enjoy what God has given to us. He's blessed us in so many ways. And even when things may not be going the way we'd like for them to, there's still so many good things to think about and to do.
Absolutely.
So we hope this has been encouraging to you, and as you face these cold days, and it's supposed to be like 50 degrees this weekend, I've heard.
I know it's going to be like summertime.
Yeah. It was like 3 weeks ago.
Shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was like 5 on Monday and 60 on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's no wonder everybody's sick. It's unbelievable. But we hope this has been encouraging to you. Just a couple of reminders, some things upcoming. This coming Sunday will be our service at Heartland on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. That's always a good time each month. We hope that you can encourage the residents there. Again, at 4 o'clock on Sunday. Coming up very soon is CYC for the young people. in Gatlinburg, and has the deadline to sign up for that passed? I should have asked before we started recording.
It has.
Okay.
It has.
That was embarrassing. All right, so if you've signed up, I hope you're packing. How about that?
That's right. That's right. 21st. We're leaving on Friday, 21st, 4 p.m. And we should be back Sunday, Lord willing, around 2.
Very good. That's always a great weekend for not just the young people, but the families who go. And we look forward to hearing some great stories from that event over in Gatlinburg. And we look forward to being back with you again next week on the videos. Until next week, this is This Week at Lebanon Road.